Hey there and welcome back. This is video number 6 titled What is a Diabetic Diet? We've talked a lot so far about what diabetes is, what that means, how it affects your body, and what it means to have a controlled blood sugar. What we haven't talked about is how to make that happen, how to get your A1C to goal. Part of diabetes management is medications. The other part is diet. So it's really important to make sure that the diet that you're eating falls into a category of a diabetic diet. Now, there are a ton of diabetic diets out there if you Google it. There's no one right way to do it, as long as it's an approved method for carb control, because the most important thing is limiting carbs and keeping the carbs consistent. So the diabetic diet that we recommend is a lot more relaxed than some, but we found that limiting the carbs in moderation helps patients to stick with that diet for a much longer period of time, hopefully for their whole lives. Whereas, much more strict diets, patients tend to fall off the wagon, so to speak, after a period of time. So let's talk about what carbs are, because carbs are the things that are going to mostly raise the blood sugars. Carbs are anything that is bread, pasta, tortillas, rice, dairy, potatoes, corn, sweets, beans, cereal, anything like that. Basically, carbs are everything except meat and non-starchy veggies. Now, we don't ask you to give up any foods that are your favorite foods. We don't ask you to restrict any foods altogether. The only thing we ask you to do is limit your carb intake. So limit your carbs to about 60 grams per meal. That's about 4 servings. So what we say is, if you have a label that tells you how many grams of carb are in your food, follow the label. If you don't have a label, just estimate your servings of carbs. So for example, you want to go eat at a Mexican restaurant and you want to order fajitas. That's fine, but you need to count your servings of carbs. 2 tortillas would be 2 servings, and then we say that a serving is about the size of a baseball. So you've got a baseball size of rice and a baseball size of beans. That's 4 servings of carbs. Your meat and your vegetables don't count. But when you start adding cheese and sour cream and chips and queso and 3 glasses of Coke, your carb intake has just doubled or tripled. So compromise. If you have to have some chips and queso, get rid of the beans or the rice, and try to do this consistently. And even if you're not perfect, your blood sugars will be pretty well controlled. And that is 3 meals per day. So it's, should be plenty of carbs to keep you from feeling hungry. And then the other thing is, we want you to limit your snacks to about 15 grams of carbs per snack, which is about 1 serving. And that's 2 snacks per day. So this might be like a piece of fruit or some peanut butter and crackers or something of that nature. Start paying attention when you go grocery shopping to how many grams of carbs are in the foods that you buy, and just make sure that you're buying foods that fall within those guidelines. If you have a diet that your primary care provider has given you, or that you feel more comfortable following, as long as it falls into the diabetic diet category, or that the diabetes educator has given you, that's fine. Like I said, there's no one right way to do it. There's no minimum amount of carbs that you need unless if you are on insulin. So patients who are on insulin need to keep their carb intake consistent. Otherwise, they're going to have ups and downs in the blood sugar, and they will need some amount of carbs to counteract the short-acting insulin if they are on a mealtime insulin. Otherwise, patients who are on Most pills don't need to keep a certain amount of carbs, but just whatever you're doing, make sure that you're doing it consistently. That way, whenever your primary care provider makes adjustments to your medications, they're basing it off of your normal habits, and then don't change, because all of a sudden, if you start eating a whole bunch more carbs, your blood sugars are going to be uncontrolled. If you cut out the carbs, you may start to have some low blood sugars on the medications that you're on. So if you're going to make a change in your diet, make sure you talk to your primary care provider so that your medications can be adjusted accordingly. As always, if you have any questions about the diet, feel free to post them in the comment section and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. If you feel like this video would be beneficial to anyone you know, feel free to share it. Share it with family and friends, healthcare providers, nursing students, anyone that might benefit. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a good night.